want to show a little trick here with how you can use that single strand rope rappelling technique called the Reepschnur to do a long rappel, a rappel that might be longer than what you could normally do with your rope. So typically, let's say you have a 60-meter rope, you would expect to only be able to do a 30-meter rappel because that's the half of your rope length, and you can't go beyond that because you run out of rope. And one of the other lessons we taught about lowering a climber and how that can be really advantageous. You get the one end of the rope down nice and clean. You don't have to worry about the rope wind taking it. It's not going to get stuck somewhere. You've got a closed system because the climber's on the end of the rope. It gets them down often very efficiently and very safely. And here, this technique involves lowering that climber, which already has a lot of advantages, and then being able to use a trick that can get you more distance out of your rope. So you might be able to do a 38, if you got a 60-meter rope, you might be able to do a 32, 33, maybe a 35-meter rappel with your 30-meter rope, or 60-meter rope. Sorry, I keep saying that wrong. And so what it involves is, first, I lower my climber down. And instead of showing all of that here, I'm just going to talk through it because we did that in another lesson. So here's my climber, and I lower them down. I do this a lot because it is safe and there's a lot of advantages to it. And particularly I'll use this technique if I'm, for some reason, unsure of the rappel length. If I'm like, ooh, I don't know if our rappel rope's going to make it. So I lower the climber down. And I'm going to really exaggerate this. This is part of the reason I'm not going to show that whole rappel. So I lower the climber down, and I might have it running through the rappel rings. And I'll get them down on the ground right where I want them, right? Now here's the end of my rope, just so we can see how this works out. Now they're there, great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to knot this end that is my short end of rope. I'm going to use that Reepschnur method where I tie a knot on a bight and clip it into my strand. Now what's great is if for some reason, and this is a guiding thing, if I'm not sure about them down there, they're already on the end of the rope and this is tight so they can't really go anywhere. So they're secure. Or for example, I do this with my kids. Now I put myself on rappel. But notice here, you might not be able to see this, but here's my end of my rope. It's short. It's not on the ground. Okay, so here's my rope. It's short. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to rappel down, and I'm going to have my cordelette ready. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my cordelette ready. I'm going to take every sling that we've got, every quick draw, even the gear. I'm going to take that all with me if I'm really worried about the length of the rappel. And what I can do now is if I'm a little short and that pull strand doesn't meet the belay where my climber has been lowered to, I can take that cordelette and just tie it onto it. And here I did a flat overhand. I can also just start clipping things together. So here I just made my rope effectively much longer because my pull strand has been made much longer by this long, like 20-some foot cordelette. So notice there, I've added a good 6 meters or so to how far I could rappel with my rope. Now, if I started to even run out of rope there, I might do something like this. Like I said, you could just clip things together. So there, I just tied it overhand on a bight. So if I still didn't make it to my belay ledge, we'll start pulling out slings. And I've actually done this in some situations where we're trying to get by with one rope and we didn't think it would quite make it, and you start clipping everything you've got together, right? Just to make that pull strand longer. Quick draws and prussics, and heck, you got extra ATC, there's another 6 inches, right? I've seen people do this with cams because they just ran out of rope. So you can do this to extend that pull strand. And that's the key thing. So here's my load strand. My pull strand is the one that's short, and all I'm trying to do is extend it. It doesn't have to be anything body, it doesn't have to be anything even super strong, just strong enough to pull on. It could be P-cord, it could be, you know, if I had a chalk bag belt, it could be whatever I've got that can make that pull strand longer. So now when I get down to the bottom, to the belay where my climber has already been lowered. I know that end is down there so I can get safely down to the anchor. And now it's my pull strand that I've made longer. Then I can pull and retrieve my rope. There's a great, great trick. I use this a ton. Super helpful. If you're just not sure about your rappel length, or maybe you even go into a climb knowing, oh, there's a 32-meter rappel, but the rest of the rappels are shorter, maybe I could just take my 60-meter rope and get by. So you can do that with that trick right there.